Hey guys, Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer. We talk about music, books, and movies. And today, we're going to be doing part 7 in the Album a Day Challenge. So, as you may or may not know, depending on whether or not you've seen one of these videos before, this is me and 6 of my imaginary friends, all of whom happen to be dragons, attempt at the Pokemon genre challenge from Rate Your Music. Basically, the idea behind this is we generate a random Pokemon, generate a random number, and then pick an album and a genre using those two things. So, link to the genre table with all the Pokemon types and the genres linked in the description as usual. Anyway, today's Pokemon is Tyranitar. And this is a rock/dark type. So, another dual type. I had one of those yesterday as well. But the genre that I got for this was post-punk, and the album I chose was Static Disposal by Debris. Before my imaginary friends come in, though, let me just say my thoughts on this album. So, this is the first ever post-punk album according to Rate Your Music, and it is one of the most wild albums I have ever listened to. The vocals are erratic, the instrumentation is messy and chaotic, and why is there a saxophone on this album? It feels like it shouldn't fit, but it does. In fact, that kind of sums up the entire album. Like, everything feels like it shouldn't work at all, but it's just so fun and interesting that it's impossible not to like it. Yeah, I enjoyed this. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get on with the voice acting, shall we? Hello, all you fine people. I'm Skyler Wing, and this is Blaze Flarington, Houdini Presto, Bolt Thunderstone, Forrest Woods, and Draven Onyx. Today, we're doing video number 7 in our Album of the Day series, and today's genre is post-punk. When I first got this genre, I wanted to pick Marquee Moon by Television, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. However, last night one of our fellow imaginary friends told me she was listening to the first ever ambient record, and I thought, I wonder what the first ever post-punk album is. Turns out it's this obscure one and done album by this Oklahoma band called Debris. The name of the album is Static Disposal, and I decided to pick it for today's album. After listening to it, this is extremely experimental even by the standards of post-punk. It contains elements of glam rock, psychedelic rock, and garage rock, and even though it was released in 1976, it sounds like it came out a year later. It also has this extremely cluttered and chaotic sound with guitar, bass, drums, synthesizers, and even a saxophone playing discordant notes that to the untrained ear would sound completely random. It's a strange album, and it's a bit more abrasive than I would prefer for my post-punk, but it's an interesting and ahead of its time listen that I look forward to periodically returning to. 8 out of 10. Wait a minute. This band is from Oklahoma? Yes, and small-town Oklahoma at that. Wow. This sounds like it came from New York City. Anyways, This album kicked ass. I'm not the biggest post-punk fan even, but this was great. A great beginning to the genre. The chaos, the energy, and the vocals that sound borderline hardcore make this an electrifying listen. It's weird and experimental, but not at the expense of being fun. That's a problem I have with a lot of experimental music, by the way. It's just no fun. That's a different conversation, though. Anyways, I love the saxophone and synthesizer on this album and how well they complement the rest of the chaos. This whole album is great. 9 out of 10, and it would have been a 10 if some of the lyrical content was better written. I agree with just about everything you said, Bolt. The instrumentation on this album is flawless for what it is, being both fun and experimental, with the chaos actually fitting the mood the band is trying to set. The vocals are incredible and way ahead of their time. However, a lot of these lyrics come off as needlessly sleazy, especially on songs like Female Tracks and Blue Girls. It's a minor complaint, but I feel like the sleaze doesn't match how surreal everything else is about this album. I will say I enjoyed every song on here, though. Strongest possible 9 out of 10. I agree completely with pretty much everything you said, Draven. Now, who would like to go next? I will. To me, this album was slightly more of a mixed bag than you two are making it out to be. Female Tracks and Blue Girls actively annoyed me with how sleazy they were, and the instrumentation was a bit too messy in places. However, I appreciated the experimentation, the vocals were delightfully theatrical, and I especially loved the saxophone. Aside from the 2 tracks I just mentioned, this album is great, even if I'll probably only listen to it every once in a while. 8 out of 10. Well, I hate to be the one contrarian here, but I was not a fan of this album. To me, the vocals were incredibly annoying, the instrumentation was messy, the lyrics were sleazy, and the only thing I really enjoyed was the saxophone. Remove that and this album becomes completely worthless to me. As a fan of post-punk, I will admit this album has earned its place in underground music history, but I didn't enjoy it at all. You realize I haven't gone yet, right? Yeah, but I know your taste well enough to know you're gonna like it. Well, you're right. This album is a masterpiece of chaos. The frantic instrumentation combined with the sleazy lyrics make this feel like a fun night out on the town full of drugs and hookers that takes a turn for the dark. I agree with Houdini that Female Tracks and Blue Girls are the weakest songs here. However, I also think they add to the atmosphere nicely. As for the other songs, they're all great. 8 out of 10. Now, Skyler, what score did this get overall? According to my calculations, this album got a combined score of 45 out of 60. That's not a bad start to the week, if I do say so myself. It's the first album of this week, so we have nothing to compare it to. So, let's throw it back to Morgan. And that's my video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer, and I'm out.